It sounds like synchronicity after synchronicity
Yeah.
is happening. And that, oh God, I'm getting the chills. That's when magic occurs. And if you're looking, listening, and paying attention, that's when you are directed where to go next.
That's exactly right.
Oh, and so Liz, I have to ask you this. Are you left-handed?
I am completely ambidextrous.
So
Like,
am I. That's
completely.
exactly,
Yeah.
I feel like when you're ambidextrous, you operate with more sides of your brain, right? You're
Yeah.
using more channels.
Yeah.
So it's funny. So I know I've been able to do things like I can do math in my head. I can do strange things that a lot of people can't do. And when I would ever play ping pong or smash ball, I would play with two paddles. Like I
Yeah.
always did things, and I played softball. So when somebody threw me a ball, I wouldn't even have to look. I could just catch it with either hand, like a pair of keys or whatever. I'd just be like, how do you do that? Like, I don't know. It's the field. I feel it or sense it.
Yeah.
So you, I think, are actually using those extra sides of your brain to help do some of the development here, I would say. Do you agree with that?
Yeah. So what Bill was saying there, I have some interesting way that my brain works, that I'll often read 3 or 4 books at a time, sometimes listening to one, sometimes reading one, right? But out of those books, I'll extrapolate pieces that create something new. So I can take disparate pieces of information and turn them into something else. And I think that's a big part of what's helped us so much, because we can just quickly put together lots of pieces of information and make it useful very quickly.
I understand that too. When I read the book, I felt like I was grabbing data out of the air from all these different resources that I was pulling in, like codes and symbolism, and just all these things were coming at me. And I'm like, okay, I got that piece and I got that piece. And it was connecting dots, putting the puzzle together. So I have to ask, when you guys came up with the chakras, that's what's on the ball. I want to show the ball. And Bill, when you were describing it going to his throat, that was his throat chakra. Then it went to his third eye chakra. Then it went to his crown chakra. So it literally is going through the channels, the gateways, right? So who came up with this feeling of putting Mr. Bill? Mr. Bill did.
Yeah, that was one of the first things that happened. And it's interesting. We were just talking about this, Bill. Do you remember what you told me about the reason for putting them on the ball?
Oh, yeah. Well, I knew a couple of things. I mean, it's like information like comes and kind of like Liz, all kind of connects and just shing, 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 shing. That's how it kind of feels to me, like shing, 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 and then kind of fits together. Well, in this particular case, I had known, because kind of the drinking through a fire hose, that I had been doing, I had known that, mandala, which is, some people have seen these, right? Tibet, where it's a very intricate pattern. Kind of looks like a square, and and with like 4 parts coming out of it, super intricate. But it is a top-down look through the chakras. So as if you were looking from up here, the symbols are actually, you're looking through the entire thing, and they look at it as the gateways, right? These are gateways. I knew that when people stare at these things, that they can have an awakening just by staring at them alone. You see a lot of people with artwork in their house and that sort of thing. Quite beautiful, quite mesmerizing. But encoded within it, it has the ability to actually awaken the energy system, because it's ours and it's universal. So there is the other view, which you see very often, and you'll see those symbols on the ball. It's broken out. So instead of looking this way, top down, you're looking actually at it, like the throat and the chest and so on and so forth. And these are representations of the energy that is within those particular areas. Every single different energy center vibrates at a different frequency. And so every frequency, these frequencies, has a color associated with it. It goes from a very high frequency and then, kind of like a transducer, goes down lower, lower, lower until the base, the base chakra, our energy center, is red and vibrating at the lowest and slowest. Interestingly enough, myself and Liz, years later, after the advent of standard Cognomovement used for so many purposes, the list goes on and on, but we're able, another download that Liz came with, and then I had added to, was that the understanding that things manifest and go through this energy system, they go from thought to thing. And as they go from thought to thing, they become more and more dense. And they go through literally this energy system that's inside you. And we've figured out a way to basically accelerate that. That's just another one of those. We call it Cogno Quantum, and it's been a blast.
So before we get off the chakra symbols, there's one other big thing that happens with this. It's a complex geometric symbol with the left part of the brain really likes. And also the color speaks to the left part of the brain. And then the right part of the brain likes this 3D and kinesthetic touch. So this little ball does all those things, activates all the chakras, the mandala part of the body and the spirit and all that, but the brain is being activated at the same time, the left and the right hemisphere. So this little ball does a whole lot of things. It looks like just a funny little soccer ball with some colors on it, but it packs a punch immediately when it's being used.
Oh yes, because when I've used it, it's almost like a holographic field I can see through. I'm all, whoa. and it's funny, on my book, I have sacred geometry. And it's funny because I got 5 book covers to choose from. And when I saw this one, I felt it in my body, like, chung, you know? And I honestly think it might be the 12th chakra. I think it is. Or I know it's,
That's
it's
a beautiful cover.
Thank you. It feels like it lights up when people are holding it, like it's alive, you know? So I want to hear also what else, or whatever you hearing and seeing and witnessing with your clients experiencing this. Because Bill and I had a session. Like, I found Bill, got him on the phone. I drove down to San Diego within an hour that day, and he worked with me for several hours. We had a huge breakthrough. I do write about it in the book, and it was amazing. And I thank you again, Bill, because like you had come back from Mount Shasta and we're just like, I'm kind of just recovering, but okay, I can't return someone down. So I want to hear what you're experiencing with these success stories. Why don't you share, Liz? Because I want to hear from you and then Bill can share. How's that?
It depends on the topic and the day. There's a million different things. I'll share one that just happened to pop in my mind. Lots of times we get the opportunity to work with children. And one of a person that we work with who's a physical therapist, a doctor of physical therapy, her oldest daughter has a little bit of vision trouble. And so she came to see me just for about 20 minutes a week because little kids, it's hard for them to work for so long. So we worked with her and we did what's called resetting her eyes. So we're looking for parts of her vision which actually equal parts of her brain that aren't quite working well. And sometimes that's just from a little bonk on the head, a little minor concussion. Sometimes it's actually something from birth. It can be, the neck is a little out or something like that. And on and on and on the reasons. So we started working with her. And in week 3, I was talking to her while we were working her session. So I'll show you, I'm kind of moving the ball and I'm evaluating her vision and we're talking. And with little kids, you kind of distract them a little. So I was talking to her about what she'd read recently. Well, I knew that her mom was working with her on reading things, and that her vision was a problem. But she starts talking to me about Mary Poppins, and that she's literally read, I think, 4 out of 5 of the entire volumes, the whole book of Mary Poppins. And while I'm working, I'm thinking to myself, I thought we were having trouble with vision and reading was hard. So I asked her mom, I said, is this normal that she's reading? We figured it was almost 50 pages a day in some cases. I mean, like crazy. And her mom said, no, absolutely not. I didn't even know that she was reading that much. So in just some short sessions, we corrected something in her brain vision complex that allowed her to just read. And over the summer, since then, I think they said she's read something like 12 books, like just unbelievable. And oh, by the way, she's 8.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh. Okay, that's pretty amazing. Reading. The more that you read, the more educated you are, the more advanced you are. This is a lot of people I know have a hard time reading, hard time focusing, hard time concentrating.
Mhm.
When I was in high school, I took a speed reading class, and we just kind of used these 2 fingers and went really fast across. So I'm kind of sharing this with you all so you can kind of maybe practice it on your own, because I don't think it's really taught anymore. And you're not going to always retain things, but you retain more than you think. And that's
Mhm.
why I tend to highlight my books. I tend to tab them so that I can go back and resource it. And it just seems like everybody that you're working with, I'm finding, is having these miraculous breakthroughs, and they're like creating new lives, becoming new people. It's I felt like being ambidextrous, I felt like I was pretty tapped in and tuned in and turned on. But once I started doing the ball, I started having, it's almost like there was my field was getting more cleared. My aura was being, fulfilled completely and realigned. So